Hello and welcome to the Dead with Dave show, a show that talks about all things Halloween or horror related. And today, I want to do a whole show just on compressed air and pneumatic systems. But first, I want to do a quick update on the Dead with Dave Home Hunters Awards. I know it's been a while since I've said anything about the Home Hunters Awards, and that's because I've been so busy working on them. The judges and myself have been very, very diligent. I'm going to say diligent in trying to judge these videos. There is a lot of them, and we never really anticipated the amount of video entries we were going to get. And of course, my stupid ass making this our very first award show, having 8 different categories, it really was a lot to do. Not saying I didn't love every minute of it. I absolutely loved watching all these videos. My judges had said the exact same thing. They said it was a lot of work, but they are enjoying themselves immensely. Most of them are done. There's a couple just trying to finish up some last minute videos here and there to get me their judging forms back. We did set a date though on when we're going to record the episode for the big awards themselves. March 23rd, all the judges are going to come to my dungeon, and we are going to record the whole entire awards ceremony then. Of course, the only judge not going to be there is Tara, Scary Lady Video. She cannot come because she lives all the way out in West Bumblefuck, so there's no way that she could possibly get here, but I'm hoping to get her on the show via satellite. You know how they say satellite. She's going to record me a little section and send it to me later. But I'm going to say via satellite because that sounds more important and special. But yes, we do have a set date where we're going to record. So hopefully in the beginning of April. I'm not going to give an exact date because God knows how long it's going to take me to edit it all together. And I really wanted to make it look nice. So somewhere in April, the Dead with Dave Home Hunters Awards for 2012 will be out. I already know who most of the winners are. I'm not going to tell you though. Very exciting stuff, and you're not going to want to miss this because it really, really great entries, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So keep an eye out for that. I get a lot of questions about pneumatics, all the way from compressors to props and everything in between, like airlines, regulators, fittings, and even how to maintain it all. So I thought it'd be a great idea just to do an entire show on compressed air and pneumatic systems. I'm not going to talk so much about the pneumatic props themselves. I'll save that for, the regular Dead with Dave episodes. This episode will be more focused on everything that comes before the props. You can't have kick-ass pneumatic props without all the stuff running behind the scenes. So we have a lot of info to go over, so let's get right into it. Number 1. You need an air compressor. The heart of any pneumatic system. The job of the air compressor is to take air from the environment and pressurize it. This creates a high amount of potential energy that can be used to power any kind of pneumatic. An air compressor consists of an air pump, which is rated in horsepower, a reserve tank, which stores the pressurized air, rated in gallons, of course, and a pressure gauge rated in PSI. There are a lot of different sizes and styles of compressors, but I'm only going to go over the ones that pertain to us haunters. But remember, there are other options besides these. A small pancake air compressor will do well for a small yard haunt that has maybe 2 or 3 non-air hog props that run randomly. Air hog props are props like air cannons, large bore cylinders, and continuously activated props. Kind of all the ones that are in my haunt. The props that just suck down the air. These pancake compressors have smaller oilless air induction motors, are compact, easy to move around, and are fairly inexpensive. Now, even though pancake compressors are small in size, that means nothing about the pressure they can build. Most can get anywhere from 100 to 165 psi very easy and very fast, especially since there isn't a big tank to fill. The tank size normally on these is about 3 to 6 gallons. Maintenance is also easy. Just drain the water that accumulates inside the tank and check your pressure release valve to make sure it works. Now, the pressure release valve is the safety valve in the tank that keeps the compressor from building too much pressure and exploding. We don't want that to happen. The next step up from a pancake style is a portable stand-up compressor with a bigger air induction pump and a bigger tank, normally around 20 to 30 gallons. These are good for mid-sized to large haunts running 10 or to 15 props, including a couple air hogs like air cans, stuff like that. Now this is the style compressor I use in my own haunt, and it works just fine. It does take forever to fill my tanks. I have the 30-gallon main tank and two 10-gallon air cannons. And I have to leave a couple minutes in between the shows for the tanks to refill. But besides that, I've never had any real problems with this style air compressor. Now these compressors run about $200 to $400 and are a great in-between compressor. You know, if the pancake style just can't cut it, but you really want to put out a couple grand for a full-size compressor, this is going to work for you. As for the maintenance, it's the same as the pancake style. Just drain out any water in the tank and check your safety valves. It's that easy. Now, if you want to go full bore and want to have unlimited air at all times and want to fill fast, you need the big dogs. The bigger, full-size stationary compressors that have 1, 2, or even 3-cylinder air pumps are great for large haunts with as many props as you can squeeze in it. The big difference between these compressors and the others is that they have oil-filled air pumps, higher CFM output, bigger tanks, and of course have more maintenance. But if you want one, it's going to cost you anywhere between $500 and $5,000. But you will never need another compressor again. As for the maintenance on these, it's a bit more because you have to change the oil at least once a year or even every 3 months, especially if you use it a lot. If you're going to be using it for your pneumatic tools and stuff besides your haunt, you definitely want to keep this thing maintenance if it's just constantly running. Next, we will talk about airlines, also called pipes, hoses, or tubes. Airlines distribute the pressurized air from your compressor to your props. And instead of going over all the different types of airlines and the materials they're made from, I'll just talk about what I use in my own home. It's going to save me a lot of time here. My compressor is in my basement, so I use a 3/8 diameter polyurethane air hose. These hoses are great because they resist being crushed, are oil and abrasive resistant, and they can take a beating. And it does. My hose runs through my basement, up and out a window, under my side porch, down my driveway, where I constantly run over it with my truck, and into my carport where it connects to a manifold system. Now from there, I branch off to 3/8 diameter polyethylene tubing. This is the white tubing you'll find at your plumbing department at your local hardware store, usually used to hook up ice makers and shit like that. I call it throwaway tubing because it's extremely cheap, only $4 or so for 25 feet. And it does take on a beating at the end of the year. This tubing is really not worth saving at all. You know, your props are never going to be in the same spot twice. The tubing gets brittle in sunlight, and it kinks so freaking easily that once it kinks, it kind of holds that kink, and you're going to wind up tossing it anyway. So, this cheap-ass tubing, it's great to use, but don't expect to get the use out of it every single year. Now, I use 3/8 diameter for my main runs and to my bigger air hog props. For my smaller props that don't need the high airflow, I reduce down to 1/4-inch tubing. Plus, it saves you even a little bit more money. Now, if you want a better tube that you can use year after year, you might want to try a polyurethane tube, which will not kink as easy, is way more flexible, and can take a little bit more abuse. But it's a lot more money. Now, I try to use polyurethane tubing in my props themselves, especially where the tubing has to run underneath the frame, under clothing, or in difficult to reach spots. It really sucks balls to rip apart a prop just because you have a bad tube. Better off just getting a better tube first and reducing the headaches later. Next thing you're probably going to have to get are regulators. A regulator controls the pressure at which the air is released downstream from the regulator. For example, if your compressor tank is at 120 psi or so, and you have a small prop that only needs about 40 psi to operate, 120 psi will most likely rip it apart. So you would have to use a regulator in line to to drop the pressure down to 40 psi. Your system should have a main regulator at the compressor to control the pressure in the airlines. Then you'll need a regulator at every prop, set to whichever psi the prop uses. You do this for two reasons now. First, so you can remove the prop and install it somewhere else in your system without worrying if you have the right pressure or not. This will prevent your props from getting damaged by too high of air pressure. And second, you can fine-tune the correct pressure for each and every prop to get that perfect movement. And on that note, let me talk to you real quick about flow control valves. Flow control valves are to control the speed of air traveling through a line. They do not control air pressure. They don't. Flow controls are usually installed in a prop between the valve and an air cylinder. But using a flow control without a regulator can still send too much air pressure to your prop, which could have some very bad effects. They are great for fine-tuning the speed of movement of a prop, but that's it. Do not solely rely on a flow control valve to control the movement of your props. I see a couple people here on YouTube using flow control valves without regulators to back them up, and it's not the correct way to do it. You need a regulator to control your air pressure. The flow control valves are there to tweak it in. Or if you have an extension that needs to go a little faster and your return need a little bit slower, you can control those two different. But you cannot drop 120 psi down to a 20 psi movement. You're not controlling the psi now, you're controlling the movement with a flow control valve. Because as soon as that thing extends, it's going to still pump up to 120 psi, which means the return can be that much faster. Trust me, it's not right to do. Don't rely on it. It works. I know it works. People use it. It does work, but it's not the right way to do it. Some other things you might want to be thinking about to buy too are filters, dryers, and lubricators. These units are optional, but if you use them, you can definitely increase the reliability and the life of your props. A filter dryer unit removes condensed moisture from the air before it reaches your props. It also filters out small particles of dirt and metal that may be present in the airline that could damage your pneumatics. And the lubrication unit dispenses small amounts of oil into your airlines to keep props running smoothly. Now remember, you can only use pneumatic oil made for airlines in these units. You do not want to use a petroleum-based oil. Petroleum-based oils will swell rubber seals, O-rings in your actuator valves and regulators and make them not work anymore. So only use the correct airline oil when using an oiler. I use a regulator filter dryer combo unit that works great. It's definitely something that saved my pneumatics over the years. I get a lot of moisture in my lines, and it helps get that moisture out, and it helps keep the particles of shit out of there. So definitely want to think about buying that stuff. It's worth it. It's not a necessity, but if you're going to be doing this for the long haul, it's going to save your props. I guarantee it. Now the last thing I want to talk about are the connectors and fittings. And I'm going to go through this really quick because I am getting extremely bored on doing this episode. I can only imagine what you guys are feeling right now, because I feel like I'm in the middle of class somewhere doing a speech or something, because this is really starting to suck. I hope you guys aren't that bored with this. So I'm going to go through this quick, and we'll get this done and over with. So connectors and fittings connect the components to each other or to airlines. There are many different types of connectors, such as threaded, push lock, hose and barb, quick disconnect, T-fittings, Y-fittings, unions, manifolds, and a shitload more. There's a crap ton of them out there. Now, throughout my own home hunt, I use a lot of the push-on connectors. And I use two different styles of these. Either I'll use the really shitty ones from the Home Depot, the white ones you see in the plumbing department, same place you get that polyethylene tubing. You'll see right above it is their push-on fittings, which I absolutely hate, but I use them throughout my entire haunt. They're all over the place. I have hundreds of them. Or I'll go to McMasterCar.com, FrightProps.com, and order their connectors, which are a lot better. I know there's a lot of debate going on over the internet. I see if those white ones are better or not, the ones from the Home Depot are good or not, and some people like them, some people don't. I'm just going to weigh in on it real quick and say they suck. I hate them, but I use them because they're easy to get to. They're not really cheap there either. You can get them for a lot cheaper on FryProps.com than you can at the Home Depot. So you might as well go with the better ones. That's just my 2 cents on it. But I do use it like I do with my polyethylene tubing. The shitty connectors go out throughout the haunt, in the yard, in the grass, running around everything. I use the crappy ones. For the props themselves, I try to use the better ones, something that I know I'm not going to have to take out and remove later. They're going to leak less, and it's going to be less of a problem or hassle. If I have a problem with the prop, it's not going to be that. So I kind of acted like that. The shitty ones go on the haunt, better ones go inside the props. But if you want to know more about connectors, go to fryprops.com and look at all the options they have. The Y fittings, T fittings, reducers. It's all stuff you're going to need throughout your haunt, especially if you're going to be doing multiple props. You're going to have multiple things to connect to. Well, I think I've covered the majority of compressed air and pneumatic systems. I hope you guys have learned something new. This is more towards the new people. They're just getting into pneumatics. I know most of you already know about this shit, and this is nothing new to you. But for the new people, I understand that you got to start somewhere. So I want to start here on the Dead with Dave show and learn from the beginning on what you need to do your pneumatics. I hope it helped a little bit. I hope you didn't fall asleep, because I'm about to fall asleep. That's how bored I am with this. So I'm going to end the show now. I'm bored. I'm done. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, click the button down below. Show me some love. I'm taking a month off from the Dead with Dave show. I'm going to be working completely on the Home Hunters Awards. I'm going to give myself a full month or so to get it all edited together and perfect for you. So the very next episode of Dead with Dave will be the Home Hunters Awards, and in its full glory. So I hope it comes out as good as it's in my head. I'm picturing what it looks like. I hope it comes out just as good. If not, I'll just blame the judges. I'll say it's their fault. It's not my fault. It's the judges' fault. They suck. No. Talking about judges, make sure you go over to the judges' YouTube channels and click their subscribe buttons. They're definitely worth it. So don't forget. Don't know who the judges are? Go to my website, www.pandemichauntproduction.com. You can check out the judges there. You can check out all the Home Hunters Awards there. You can check out everything that's cool going on in Pandemic with my home haunt, Pandemic Cemetery, and everything else. Click out there. I put some new stuff there all the time. Also, you can check out the Pandemic store where I have t-shirts and prop plans that you could pick up for whatever. If you just want to check it out, go ahead. Be my guest. And I'm done. I'm over. Have a good night. I love you all. See you next time.